Hi, my name is Jeannette, also known as Ms.FitVegan, and today I'm going to be reading an excerpt from the Book On Mental Toughness by Andy Frisella. I've been on 75 Hard off and on since 2019, and I was on day 20 last night when I failed the challenge, and I'll speak about why I failed after I read the excerpt. So I'm going to be reading starting on page 201, and by the way, I'm on page 171. If you're interested, check that out. But on page 201, Andy's answering questions about 75 Hard. And here's question number 4. I've struggled with negativity my whole life. What if I'm legitimately afraid that I'm going to lose the battle in my head? And here's Andy's answer. I don't care who you are. You're going to be more tempted to bitch out in the early stages. Don't beat yourself up about that mental battle. It's normal. Press on. The more momentum you build, the less you'll deal with that. Like I wrote in an earlier question, James, also known as the Iron Cowboy, told me that his body just adapted. Your mind will begin to adapt too. Trust me. Let me also take some time here in the FAQ section to share some thoughts on how to fight the battle in your mind. Here are some things you need to know. When the typical person starts to work hard towards accomplishing a big goal, the immediate temptation is to think about what they have to give up, and that's why they fail. Here's what I mean. When they go on a diet, they start fixating on the fact that they have to give up pizza. It constantly runs through their mind, pizza, pizza, pizza. And then what happens? They end up eating pizza. It's like that for everybody who starts out trying to crush a big goal, but who then focuses on the cost of accomplishing that goal. The woman who wants to become an elite level swimmer but constantly thinks about how cold the water is. The entrepreneur who wants to save money to reinvest in his business but obsesses about how to slash his budget and live at a friend's house. The man who wants to be in a better relationship with his wife but always thinks about the Friday nights he's going to have to give up with his buddies. Every one of those efforts is almost guaranteed to fail. Mentally tough people think entirely different. They don't focus their thoughts on what they have to give up. They focus their thoughts on what they're going to gain. They focus on their desired outcome. So, the woman competing to be an elite level swimmer thinks about how good it will feel to have the Olympic gold medal draped around her neck. The entrepreneur thinks about how awesome it will be to sit in his office in his new state-of-the-art headquarters. The man who wants a better relationship with his wife thinks about growing old together and sharing a life of happiness and adventure. Those are the people who will succeed. Mentally tough people, the people who power through to crush absolutely any goal, take control of their thoughts and focus them on the desired outcome. They focus their thoughts on what they want, and they power through, and they succeed. Why? It's just a law of the universe, a fact of science, and something I've learned again and again in my own experience. As I mentioned earlier, my friend Ryan Hardwick is a professional race car driver. Since I love cars, I've joined him on the track a number of times to learn what it takes to race on that level. One of the things I've learned is that when you are inches from other cars, it can be insanely stressful. You have to make sure you don't bump into another racer, and you have to make absolutely sure you do not run into the wall. When less skilled drivers start veering towards the wall, they make a critical mistake. In that stressful moment, their focus zeroes in on the wall, and guess what happens next? They slam into it. They were so locked in on the wall that their actions followed their focus and they hit the very thing they were trying to avoid. Experienced drivers know better. If they sense they're veering towards the wall, they double down and keep their focus on the track, dead center. And when they do that, they are able to make the corrections and keep driving hard. This is a literal, real-life example of the unbreakable rule of mental toughness and success. Your actions follow your focus. Focus on what you have to give up, and you'll give up. Focus on what you want to gain, and you'll gain your goal. You don't have to understand it to believe it. It's just how the brain and life works, period. So how do you do it? Number 1, first you have to reassert the place of authority in your own mind. That means when you catch yourself in mid-thought thinking, oh man, I really want a pizza, you have to immediately say, wait a minute, stop. What am I saying? At that moment, you say, I'm not going to let myself talk to me like that. I am going to take conscious control and talk for myself and to myself. You need to realize that you're not the audience in your head. You're not there to just sit back and passively listen to the conversation going on, okay, between your ears. You need to say, I'm the drill instructor. I'm the person in charge. Do what I say or I'll kick your motherfucking ass. And then deliver the proper message. At that point, you tell yourself, I can't wait until I'm the fittest person in the world. And all the other people look at me as I walk by. Screw you, pizza. And fuck you, bitch voice. That's when you'll succeed. You have to remind yourself, I cannot wait until I'm healed. I am doing this to heal. I cannot wait to be pain-free, to not be obese anymore, to not have diabetes, to be cancer-free, to not have to be at risk for a stroke or high blood pressure or whatever you're facing. Do you understand? You have to focus on the goal. That's just me talking. All right, let me go back to Andy. That's when you'll succeed. But you have to make a conscious decision. You have to take control. You have to reassert the place of authority in your own mind. Number 2, you have to instantly autocorrect the negative thought in your brain. Successful people do this. They take a hold of the negative thought running through their head and they reword it and rephrase it so that it motivates them to act and succeed. Okay? In the Super Bowl, the Patriots were down by 21 points, and Tom Brady didn't let himself think, we're in a huge hole, and we're down 21 points. I don't think we can do this. The Falcons are just too much. No, Tom Brady did not say that. You know what Tom Brady said? He said, this is great. We're going to win this game by mounting the greatest comeback in Super Bowl history. And that is how mentally tough people do it. They might have a thought that is initially negative. It's almost impossible not to, but they immediately autocorrect into something positive. Learn how to autocorrect. Number 3, you'll have to default to what I call your personal sales script. While we don't do this at my company, the reality is that a lot of companies use a sales script, and that means they have a presentation that is fully written out and answers prepared for specific questions a customer might have. That's pretty old school and can be cheesy and impersonal, but the reality is it can also be effective. So what does that have to do with your mental toughness? Sometimes you have to use a sales script on yourself. If you want to accomplish a big goal, you've got to be able to sell yourself on an idea. And you have to be able to cast that vision to yourself. When you take control of the conversation in your head, you need to be ready to pound the points of your personal sales script, which means you need to have given them some real thought. These points include the vision you have for your life, the way you have determined without a doubt things are going to go for you. Your goal that you will absolutely not compromise on. In other words, this is who I am. This is the fucking plan. There are no discussions. This is a non-negotiable. Period. That is the personal sales script that you need to default to. That's the pitch you have to sell yourself. Okay? Bottom line is, people who successfully power through all obstacles and defeat all enemies are men and women who learn to focus on the desired outcome. They make it their goal to focus on what they want, and they take control of the thoughts they think and the words they use in order to make that happen. Like I said, those who focus on what they have to give up, they give up. And those who focus on what they want to gain, gain their goal. And that concludes the excerpt from the Book on Mental Toughness by Andy Frisella. If you have any questions for me about 75 Hard, you can leave them down below. I know the biggest question is going to be, why did I fail? And also, do I drink a gallon of water? So let me answer those two questions first. Number one, I failed last night because one of the major requirements of 75 Hard is that you stick to a diet for 75 days. Now, I'm not willing to change my diet. I've been on a raw food diet for 15 years. I believe with all my heart and soul that this is the healthiest diet on the planet, and it has healed every single one of my health issues and my pre-diabetes, my back pain, my knee pain, my migraine headaches, my chronic fatigue, eczema, acne, everything. So therefore, I'm not willing to deviate from my diet. So I decided that instead of doing a diet, instead of sticking to a new diet, I'm going to stop eating at 8 p.m. every night. And last night, during my Misfit Monday call, unfortunately, I lost track of time, and I did have a bite of salad at 8:20. Unfortunately, that means for me that even though I was on day 20, I have to start on day 1 today. But I have become so mentally tough that even after the Misfit Monday call, at 10 o'clock at night, I went out for my 45-minute workout outside. And I didn't have to do that because I knew I had failed 75 Hard, but I have become so disciplined with my workouts that I just wanted to do it. I automatically just said, all right, we're doing this. Yeah, I had a thought that said, oh, don't do it tonight. You don't have to. It's not going to count. But everything counts. Everything counts on the way to your goals. So that's why I failed. And I know some people will say, oh, it's just a bite of romaine lettuce. It doesn't count. Yeah, that's why you're not successful in life. That's why we haven't been successful, boo. Because it's the little things that matter. No deviation means no deviation. No compromise. It's not about the romaine lettuce. It's about keeping your word to yourself. If you cannot keep your word to yourself, you cannot become who you are supposed to be. So please understand, this is about mental toughness and integrity. Okay, and number 2, this challenge requires you to drink 1 gallon of water. So I did that in 2019. And the truth is that I went to get a blood test. And in 2019, I was drinking a gallon of water. I think I did 45 days and I got a blood test just because I get blood tests every few years for content purposes. You can search my name and the word blood test and they will come up. I just get it to prove to people that I'm getting enough protein. My B12 is totally fine. My iron levels are fine. I'm super healthy. There's nothing to worry about when you start eating fruit and vegetables, nuts and seeds. So I got my blood test and it turns out that my kidneys were extremely diluted, like some type of, I forgot the exact count on the blood test that was kind of low. And the reason the doctor explained to me is that I was drinking too much water. You know, between watermelon and green juice and smoothies and water, between all the fruit that I eat, because I eat 95% fruit, she explained to me, and it really made a lot of sense to me, that I was drinking too much water to be also eating a raw vegan diet. So for 75 Hard, I personally do not drink a gallon of water. And the reason is because I'm not able to, as a raw vegan, it's, in my personal opinion, it's not healthy to drink a gallon of water. if you're getting most of your food from juicy fruit. Okay, so I'm already extremely hydrated, and I drink coconut water, and I drink green juice every day. So what I'm doing instead is I'm drinking a 100 ounces of water a day, okay, which is pretty much almost a gallon, by the way. I think 128 ounces is a gallon. So I'm drinking 100 ounces a day, and I'm also having a green juice as well. So I am allowing myself to not drink the full gallon just because I eat a raw food diet. If you have any questions, but I have to have a green juice every day, and I have to drink 100 ounces of water a day. And that includes water that I put into smoothies. Okay? So if you have any questions on 75 Hard, leave it below. I consider myself an expert because I've been on the program for many times, and it has helped me tremendously over the years dealing with the loss of my family members, dealing with depression and grief and sadness. 75 Hard has saved my life. I don't know if I would be here without 75 Hard, to be honest, and that's the truth. So thank you very much for listening. Thank you, Andy Frisella, for being one of my biggest mentors and creating this challenge. And I actually started doing it the day he announced it in 2019. So I'm an OG of the challenge, and I really appreciate you guys, and I'll see you in the next episode. Thanks for listening. If you like this kind of content, do me a favor, like this video and subscribe, and I'll see you soon. Bye.